Chelsea have a goalkeeper problem. And what makes this interesting is that Chelsea didn't necessarily think they had one a few weeks ago. Robert Sánchez was still the expected starter. Mike Penders was developing behind him, and the plan seemed to be fairly simple. Trust Sanchez for now, develop Penders, and let the young goalkeeper eventually take over. Then came the opening Premier League game against Fulham. Sanchez made 2 costly mistakes, and suddenly the conversation around Chelsea's goalkeeping position changed. And now, Chelsea are reportedly in talks with the camp of one of the most experienced goalkeepers in world football, Emi Martínez. Chelsea haven't signed him, but they are considering him, and Martinez has been offered to the club as he looks for a way out of Aston Villa. So why would Chelsea want him? Because this isn't simply about replacing Robert Sánchez. It's about changing what Chelsea have behind their defence. Let's start with the obvious: experience. Martinez is 33 years old. He's won the World Cup with Argentina, he's won the Europa League with Aston Villa, and he's spent the last several years playing at the highest level of club and international football. He knows what pressure feels like, and that matters at Chelsea. This is a team being built around young players, many of whom are still learning how to deal with the pressure that comes with playing for a club expected to compete for trophies. Martinez has already lived through it. He's played in huge Premier League matches, he's played Champions League football, he's played World Cup knockout games, and when the pressure gets higher, his personality doesn't disappear. If anything, it becomes more noticeable. That's one of the biggest differences between Martinez and the goalkeepers Chelsea currently have. He isn't just a shot stopper, he's a personality. And that could be extremely important for Alonso. Because look at the type of football Alonso is trying to build. Chelsea want to play with a high line. They want to attack aggressively. They want their fullbacks and midfielders to push forward. They want to create pressure high up the pitch and recover the ball quickly when possession is lost. That naturally leaves space behind the defence, and when you play that way, your goalkeeper becomes much more important. The goalkeeper isn't simply there to stop shots. He has to understand position breaks through that first line of pressure. That's where Martinez becomes interesting, because Aston Villa have asked him to play in a system where the goalkeeper isn't simply protected by a deep defensive block. He's had to deal with pressure, he's had to make saves, and he's had to manage situations where there is space behind the defence. His numbers from last season tell you something important. Martinez played 32 Premier League matches for Villa, making around 95 saves and keeping 7 clean sheets according to available statistical records. Those numbers aren't suggesting that he's some unbeatable goalkeeper, and this is where we need to be honest. Martinez is not perfect. He can be erratic, he can take risks, his personality can sometimes cross the line from confidence into chaos, and he isn't going to suddenly fix every defensive problem Chelsea have. But Chelsea aren't looking for perfection. They're potentially looking for a goalkeeper who can give them something they currently lack: authority. And for a manager like Alonso, that could be incredibly valuable, because Alonso's Chelsea are still learning. The system is still developing. The defensive structure isn't going to be perfect immediately. There will be moments when Chelsea lose the ball and suddenly find themselves exposed. There will be moments when a centre-back steps forward and leaves space behind him. There will be moments when the midfield is bypassed, and in those moments, your goalkeeper needs to give him a chance. Martinez can do that. But there's another part of his game that could be even more interesting: his mentality. Chelsea have had goalkeepers who can make spectacular saves. What they haven't always had is a goalkeeper who makes the entire team feel like he belongs there. Martinez has that. He's the kind of goalkeeper who believes he should win, and sometimes that mentality spreads. You saw it with Argentina, you saw it during their World Cup run, and you saw it at Aston Villa when Martinez became one of the defining personalities of the team. For a young Chelsea squad, having that kind of character behind them could be useful. But then we get to the biggest question. What happens to Mike Penders? Because this is where the transfer becomes complicated. Chelsea have invested heavily in Penders' development. He's young, he's talented, and he's already viewed as someone who could eventually become Chelsea's long-term number one. So signing Martinez wouldn't make much sense if Chelsea planned to completely abandon that project. But it could make perfect sense if Martinez is viewed as the bridge. Martinez could come in and become the experienced number one. Penders continues developing without being thrown into the Premier League before he's ready, and eventually, when Penders is prepared to take the job, Chelsea can make that transition. That's actually one of the most logical arguments for this transfer. Chelsea don't necessarily need another goalkeeper for the next 10 years. They may need someone who can give them stability right now, and Martinez could provide that. But there is still one massive question. Is Chelsea solving a problem, or Chelsea reacting to one bad game? Because we shouldn't pretend Robert Sánchez suddenly became a terrible goalkeeper because of one performance. He has strengths. He's a good shot stopper. He's capable with the ball. And Alonso himself has publicly backed him after the difficult start. So if Chelsea sign Martinez simply because Sanchez made mistakes against Fulham, that would be reactionary. But if Alonso has looked at the goalkeeper position and decided that Chelsea need more experience, more personality, and more reliability behind his new defensive system, then the move starts to make a lot more sense. And that's why I think the most interesting part of this story isn't whether Emi Martínez is still a great goalkeeper. We already know the answer to that. The real question is whether experience and mentality behind Xabi Alonso's defense. And if they are, this transfer might make a lot more sense than it initially appears.